Hey there, it's also Communications. Welcome back to another review. This time I have a 2015 horror film, a little bit of a comedy, and a movie that I've been looking forward to for a long time now. I saw the trailer, I really liked it, and it looked like my type of film, and that movie is Deathgasm! Rock on! Deathgasm is a movie that is pretty much, it's a heavy metal horror film. And if you're a big fan of heavy metal and you like horror, I definitely recommend you check it out at least once. And I also recommend you check it out if you're a gore hound. If you love you some gore, give this a look because it's got plenty of it. It's got as much gore. I wouldn't say it's as gory as Dead Alive, but it's probably as gory or close to as gory as Evil Dead 2. It's definitely one of the goriest films I've seen lately. The blood flows like crazy in this, and there's guts falling out, and it's definitely gory. It's definitely not for for people who have weak stomachs, so to speak. Um, I mean, it's so gory that there are like multiple sequences where people are just vomiting, projectile vomiting blood, and there's even babies projectile vomiting blood. It's that fucking gory. Um, there's a line of dialogue the guys say in the film. They say it's fucking brutal. That's what the movie is, really. It's fucking brutal. It is. It's definitely metal and it's fucking brutal, and in a good way for the most part. I mean, I do have problems with the film, most notably the ending and a few other things which I'll get into soon enough. But overall, I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was a very entertaining movie. It was fast paced. It was about an hour and 20-something minutes. It went by really fast and was never boring. Um, I loved. I thought the screenplay for the most part was really clever, full of a lot of fun stuff. There were some moments where a little bit too much of something, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the review. But for the most part, I thought the screenplay was pretty solid. I thought the direction, I was really impressive by Jason Leigh Howden. There were some amazing shots in this that were just fucking jaw-dropping to me. I mean, really great direction. I mean, there's a shot where it pans down and then pans up backwards, or you have to see the film to really appreciate the direction by Jason Leigh Howden. It's a really well-directed film for such a low-budget movie. Uh, Howden took inspiration from the film from his teenage years. He got inspiration for the movie, in which he was a social outcast and a fan of heavy metal music. And the film won the 2013 Make My Horror Movie contest, and it received a New Zealand currency prize of 200,000 New Zealand dollars to go toward production, which took place in mid-2014. And so I don't know exactly how much the full budget is, but it's not a lot of money, and they really went all out with it, and they did a great job with a low budget. Another film from New Zealand that knocks it out of the park. I mean, these New Zealanders are making some really good horror films. Uh, but yeah, Jason Leigh Howden, I just want to say you rock. You did a great job, and I can't wait to see more from you. He also wrote the film as well. Uh, the film stars Milo Cawthorne as Brody, who is probably heavily inspired by Howden's own childhood. He's an social outcast. He's a fan of heavy metal music. He's getting bullied and abused for being a fan. He meets up with fellow metalhead in James Blake, who plays a character named Zach. He's got the and they definitely do look like metal fans. They got the long hair and they got the stereotypical metalhead. I'm a huge metalhead, and I don't wear leather jackets. I don't do that. I don't have the long hair. I don't have the aviators. I don't. But I'm a huge metal fan. But it's funny because I'm a huge metal fan. But you look at me, I don't really. You wouldn't really think that I'm a big metal guy, but I am. I'm a absolutely fucking huge metalhead, especially metal from the 80s and the 70s, a little bit from the 90s. Um, but yeah, I really like Zach. There was some parts of his character that was kind of a douche, but he more than made up for it by being one of the most badass characters I've seen in a film in a long time. I mean, he just has so many sequences where he's just a fucking stone cold badass. You can't help but love the guy. I mean, there's the scene that he had where he has dual chainsaws is stuff. That's stuff of movie legends, folk. It's a legendary. It's a legendary sequence. Him with dual chainsaws, just chopping up these demons right and left. It's great stuff, and it's mostly practical too. That's another thing I think is a big feather in this film's cap. Majority of the gore is all done practically. Majority of the gore is, real blood. I mean, not like real, human blood, but I'm talking about, actual, corn syrup and food coloring. Actual physical blood, not CGI blood. I mean, there's a few instances of CGI blood, but not a lot. Not a lot. A lot of it's practical, and a lot of it's flowing like crazy, and it's really nice to see. There's a scene where this girl in a classroom just gets projectile vomited with blood all over her. It's just a lot of fucking blood. I'm just saying, and it's real. It's you can see it, and you can tell it's not CGI, and it's wonderful, and it's a glorious sight to see. As I'm a gore hound, I'm a fan of horror films, and it's nice to see films like this that say, fuck it, no, we're not doing the CGI blood. We're giving you what you really want. You want the wet stuff. You want the red stuff. You don't want the CGI red stuff. You want the real stuff. And they deliver that. And then some. And even a lot of the makeup effects, the demons themselves, the people were possessed and they turn into these demons, these demon-possessed people. The makeup is practical too, and it looks great. They look a lot like Deadites from Evil Dead, or a little bit like the demons from Lamberto Bava's Demons. So some great makeup practical effects. There's one look of the final demon in the end, which I thought was just kind of, I mean, it was really... It's just a demon head, and then everything else is normal. It was kind of shitty. It really was. It was pretty fucking laughable. It reminded me of a Bobo from that shitty Double Dragon movie. That's not a good thing. And maybe that was the point. It's supposed to be laughable, but I think it was a little bit of a letdown considering what they're building up to. For it just to be a guy with a big demon head, and then it was just pretty... I just honestly kind of lame. That's another problem I have with the ending, which I'll get into even more problems when I get to talking about the ending. But yeah, I just want to say the blood flows. It's good. It looks good. It's definitely a film that I think this is the type of movie that should be the one that can raise the flag high for practical effects. Fuck Harbinger down. No, films like Deathgasm are the type of films that should be used as examples of proof that why practical effects should be here to stay. They do a great job with a low budget and really just create some really great visuals and some great practical makeup effects and a lot of the real red stuff that you just, as a horror fan, it's refreshing to see that again instead of seeing fucking CGI. So, but unlike Evil Dead, the Evil Dead remake, it's actually a lot better movie than, it's not just gore. It's actually really entertaining. It's got some likable characters in it, and it's genuinely hilarious at moments. It's got a great mix of black and absurd humor. There's one scene that I just I'm cracking up thinking about it, where this head of this evil, shadowy demon cult gets one of his henchmen, and he asks him to get on his knees, and tells his other henchmen to decapitate him because he failed his mission. And they do. They decapitate him. They cut off his head. And then he's like pissed at him. He's like, "What are you doing? Like now there's all this mess. Like you didn't even put a tarp underneath it. Oh my god. Do it again." They're like, then the henchmen were like, "Again? How are we gonna do it again?" He's like, "Do it again. Do what I tell you." And so they do. It's so hilarious. They pick up the guy's severed head, and one of the guys holds it on his neck, and then they just go with the sword, and then the guy drops the head. And then this is after they already set up the tarps and everything, and I was just like, oh man. And then that sequence ends with the lead guy. There's a girl that pops up from underneath his desk because she's been blowing him, and he's just like, "Get back down there." So it's definitely it's that type of movie. That's all I gotta say. If you find that kind of stuff funny, this is definitely the movie for you. I also really like the scene where they're rocking out, the band, the band, and which is the name Deathgasm is the name of the band that Brody and Zach created with some of Brody's friends. They're rocking out in their in Brody's garage, and they kind of, Brody chokes and can't really finish the song, and so then one of his friends starts playing like EDM, and Zach just like looks at him like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" and just like throws shit at him, which I really like that. He was going like, "Dude, dude, dude." It's like, what? I thought we remixed it, and then Zach's like, just throws this shit at him, which that character I believe is his name is Dion. He was a total dweeb. And his other friend was Giles, who's another total dweeb. I didn't really care for those guys. I didn't really care for those characters for the most part. I liked that Giles was wearing like a Bad Taste t-shirt. That was cool, but I just thought they were lame. These guys definitely were not metal. And I loved how the film actually had the balls to kill them off. They were like, they're not metal enough. We're killing them off. Dion gets his head ripped off. And I'm like, good. He's fucking annoying. He's just fucking... He's a pussy. He's a pussy. He's a pussy character who just, you don't give a shit about. So I was totally fine with him getting killed off. And Giles wasn't much better either. These guys were like D&D nerds. Like, these aren't metalheads. But I know there was like D&D nerds who were metalheads, and I get what they're going for. But these guys just seemed like total fucking losers. Like, they didn't feel at all like they should be in a band or be friends with Brody and Zach. So, but, they get dispatched, so, it doesn't really matter. But, so, they get dispatched anyway, so, they definitely were not metal enough. But you have, there's also, of course, the typical sort of plot where Brody's bullied. But I like the concept where he's being bullied by actually someone he lives with, which is kind of crazy, is that it's his cousin. His cousin's like bullying him, and he ends up really beating him up bad in one scene. He like gives him a black eye and rips his earring out and fucks up his ear, and you really feel bad for Brody. And you find out, of course, the reason why this whole demonic, demon possession apocalypse thing happens is because Brody, he finds these music pages that were given to him by, after Zach and him broke into this house of where they broke into a local house, and they discovered that one of their idols, Ricky Daggers, lives there. And Daggers gives the band magical sheet music, the Black Hymn, in which a cult later murders him to find. And then, skeptical of the sheet's music power, the band plays it, only to summon a demon. But really, the reason why it was played is because I tried playing it once, but it didn't work out. But because Brody just couldn't finish it. But then Brody, after he got beat up and then humiliated, he decided, I want to get. He found out, he translated what the hymn was, and it was a hymn for power. And, the ability to, crush your enemies and you have power and wealth and fame. And so he decided he wanted to do that. And, of course, he ends up unwittingly unleashing this demon plague across, in the small town. And it's up to him and Zach and a few other people to end up saving the world and saving the town. Kicks some demon ass. You also have Kimberley Crossman, who is the love interest of the film, who plays Medina. She's fucking drop dead gorgeous. I mean, damn. There's a scene where she's talking to Brody while they're having some ice cream, and she's talking about like places to put a tattoo on her body, and she like pulls down her shirt and shows like, maybe a little bit of half a tits, but not really you don't see the nipples yet, but you're getting there. And then like lifts up her skirt and shows her thigh, and I'm like, God, it's like it was hard. It was hard to think straight, and it's still hard to think straight thinking about that. I mean, damn, she's hot. Kimberley Crossman might be, I'd love to cross her path, if you know what I mean. But She was great. She also swung a mean axe, and she had a personality, and I liked her a lot. Um, she has a cool scene where she takes an axe and cuts a demon's head in half, which is pretty good. Uh, I definitely liked her more than the other friends that were pretty much fucking useless. But anyway, yeah, so he gets bullied, so he decides to play the music, brings up, the demon apocalypse, and they start fighting it off. And there's a scene where Brody and Zach are at his Zach's dad's mechanic shop, and his dad shows up and he's possessed. And there's a little fun little sequence there where Brody like fucking kills him with a sander, and it's just brutal, man. It takes a sander and just sands his face off, and blood's just spraying everywhere. And then he crushes him, and then he crushes his head with an engine block. And then of course, Zach gets upset, because it's his dad. And then like gets over it after a while, and he's like, "That's the way he wanted to go out, man. That's the way my dad would have wanted to go." And then the brothers like, "Really?" That engine block slammed on his head. Um, So I had a fun time. The movie had a great sense of humor. There were some moments where it wasn't as funny as it could be, but for the most part, it was definitely a funnier horror comedy. It was actually a horror comedy. The Visit, to me, not a horror comedy. Deathgasm, definitely a horror comedy. I mean, if you like stuff like This Is Spinal Tap, or if you liked, what is it, Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny, if you like that kind of stuff, you'll probably get a kick out of this movie. And if you like heavy metal horror, you'll probably get a kick out of it. I'd probably say I still like Trick or Treat more from 1986, and this has a lot of the same similar elements. You have a metalhead who's bullied. I actually felt that film, the 86 film, actually did an even better job of showing how badly Mark Price's character has in terms of getting bullied. I mean, he almost gets killed by these bullies that put a metal weight in his backpack and throw him in a pool. They humiliate him. They don't just beat him up, in a corner somewhere after school. No, they absolutely humiliate this kid. They end up leaving him butt naked in a gymnasium where all the girls are practicing volleyball or something, and it's just they do that. Trick or Treat does a really great job making you feel for that kid, and it's the same sort of thing. He unwittingly unleashes a terror upon a small town, but this time it's Sammy Kerr, and Deathgasm then unleashes a demon apocalypse. So there's a lot of similar elements to that. There's even references to death to false metal, which is a metal term a lot of metal aficionados use. So in Trick or Treat, you have Sammy Kerr says it over the speaker system. It's like death to false metal. And here it's just a scene where Brody, not Brody, it's Zach, after he gets in a fight with Brody and he's pissed off, he goes like, "Death to false metal." There's definitely, I love that they mentioned that, because that's definitely something that's a part of metal culture. And I love the scene too where Brody's explaining all these different metal types of metal to Medina. And she's like, "Oh, isn't all a bunch of guys like screaming?" And it's like, "No, not all metal is like that at all, except for these particular metal, these particular metal types of metal, but all the other ones aren't." So I like that, and I love the scene where she listens to metal for the first time, and it's like something straight out of Kung Fury, like that whole Barbariana scene, and she's got like wild '80s hair and got all these other women around her, and she's like, it's like epic. And I like that. I like that a lot. And then they showed that too in another scene where if it's Zach and Brody were listening to the metal, and they have another sort of scene like straight out of Kung Fury where they use like their guitar to like blow off some girl's top and show some tits, and this is definitely what it is. It's a heavy metal horror film. There's a lot of metal in this. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the editing. I love the editing in this. They did a great job with the editing in this, like the way they introduced the characters with like animated animations of Brody's drawings from his notebooks, and it really had this very animated feel to it, like kind of the kind of stuff you might see you kind of saw in Superbad, and you saw on the 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street. So the kind of stuff you saw in those movies. the Jump Street films and Superbad and films like that. It has that same similar type of animation and transitions, which really added a lot of really unique, fun, vibrant life to the film and really made it go by really quick because these really cool, fun animations. And the direction, I can't say it enough. The direction by Howden is just fantastic. Always different angles and camera angles, and it just does a great job with the direction. There's even a shot of on the inside of a demon while the demon's trying to bite somebody. You see from like the inside of the mouth, from the POV from the inside of the mouth. I mean, really great shots. I really can't wait to see this guy do more with, you know, an even bigger budget or just the same budget. I mean, he did a great job of what little he had to work with. And so, yeah, they some of the demons, and then you have the, you know, see the demons and they fight the demons off, and that's where we get to sequences where I think there's a little bit too much of a certain something. And like I was mentioning, there's too much of a certain something for my tastes. And that too much of a certain something is Dick. I don't know why this film has this obsession with Dick. I mean, I don't get, are cocks metal? Is Dick metal? Dick and balls are metal? I don't know. Maybe they are, but either way, I just thought there was too much Dick in this movie. This movie had as much Dick in it as a gay porn. And that's not good. Why? I don't get it. It was overkill. Like what I'm talking about is the scene where they go to his Brody goes to his parents, you know, his uncle's house, and they face off with his possessed aunt and uncle, and they can't find any weapons, so they end up using a big black dildo and some anal beads. And the way that it's handled is it's kind of funny at first, but then it ends up really becoming really overkill, because you know you slap me the typical slow motion slapping the guy in the face with the dick and then hitting him with the anal beads, and then they realize that this doesn't work. This doesn't work at all, which I actually like that. But then they keep going with it. They don't stop there and have them like find something else, and that's what they did. Then they kind of did. I mean, because that's what happened. Brody went and found a chainsaw, and I like the moment where it's epic, but like he spends a little bit longer starting it up, which I like that little touch, the humorous touch. And so he goes in, and then he slips and falls, and then you know Zach's by himself with the demon, and then the only weapon he has is another dildo, and he uses it to like, you know, shoves it in the demon's mouth and rips his jaw off. It's a good effect. The jaw falls off and everything, blood spraying everywhere. It's practical. I'm like, it's too much Dick. and then Brody, you know, he has to try to fend off the chick. His aunt demon, who's demon possessed, guts her with a chainsaw, but that's not enough because the sequence decides we need more of the Dick and stuff like that. So he kills her, stabs her in the head with 2 vibrators. And then if that's not enough, we gotta have another scene where there's like a some fat ass who's possessed who has his dick hanging out. And then they show a scene where they chop his dick off, and then the dick flies in the air. I'm like, I don't need to see this much dick. What is up with the dick? Stop showing me the dick. I don't want to see any more dick in your movie. You're lucky your movie didn't suck dick with all the amount of this with the dick. I just can't believe how much dick is in this movie. How much dick and balls that this movie has. It does have balls because it's fucking, you know, it's got steel fucking cojones, but then I don't need to see the balls. You know, like I said, the movie's lucky it didn't suck dick with the amount of dick that it had in the film. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the too much dick. There's even like a few dick jokes. I'm like, I get it. It's just enough for the dick. I don't know. Howden just had an obsession with dick. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just too much dick for my tastes. But then you get, you know, but there's still some awesome sequences. Like I said, Zach gets the dual chainsaws and just fucking kicks some ass. There's other scenes where they fuck up some other demons and stuff like that. But then it leads up to the climax where you have this chick who was the girl who was blowing the demon head cult leader. She kills him. And, of course, after that, the dick scene, you know, the scene with the vibrators and the dildos, there actually was a good, it ended well. because after that happened, a non-possessed version of Brody's, his, I think it, like his cousin comes in, and he starts talking shit, and then Brody like slices his fucking head off, like chops it off like a, and and Zach's like, what the hell, man? It's like he wasn't possessed. He's like, you didn't hear him? He was saying all stuff about Satan and demons and stuff like that. He did. He was saying it. No, man. That was good. And I like the moment too, like after they do all this craziness, like they killed a guy with a dick and then like there's vibrators and stuff. They both stare at each other like, dude, what the fuck? So there are some, so that sequence, it was overkill, but it still had some good stuff. Like I love the fact the film had the balls. It didn't have to show me the balls so much, but I loved how it had the balls to kill off the bully when he's not possessed. He literally straight up murdered his ass, but they made it work with, nice bit of awkward humor. And that, of course, leads up to climax where, like I said, you had the demon cult leader guy. He gets killed off by the girl who was blowing him earlier because she wants to be the one that gets possessed by the great demon, Alof. And then the climax where it seems like all is lost and things are, the odds are against them because Brody and Zach get in a fight and Zach leaves. Mainly because Zach, ended up taking his girl, banging Medina one night because she ended up she asked him to give Brody a note that, to meet her at the park. She wants to, get it on with him. But this is the same day that he was beat up by his cousin, black eye and everything. And so he didn't know anything about it, and his friend Zach never told him about it. So then you have this typical kind of drama stuff where they get pissed at each other, and then he finds out the truth about what happened, and then, Zach leaves and then makes a triumphant return later with the dual chainsaws and kicks a lot of ass. And I was just like, we didn't need that. We didn't need that part of the plot. It was unnecessary. But they have that. They're vulnerable. They get trapped by the demon, demon cult priestess lady. Then she takes all the pages of the hymn, which they needed to get all the pages back because if we play it backwards, it would send Alof back to hell and end this whole thing. But she gets them back, tears them up. Seems like they're hopeless. Zach comes in, fucks up everybody with dual chainsaws. It's awesome. And then you get to the climax where it's really bad. This really didn't have that much CGI, but there was a really bad bit of CGI here where CGI sword shows up and stabs her through the chest, and it's Zach. And then for some reason, I guess Alof's going to possess the person who has the darkest heart in the room because he killed her. Now he's the one that has the darkest heart. So he gets possessed by Alof, and that's where you have that stupid big demon head and, with a human body that looks stupid. And it's a really lackluster climax. It was building up to an awesome climax. You had all this awesome gore, all this cool-ass shit. People get disemboweled, face decapitated, people, blood sprayed everywhere and all kinds of awesomeness. And then you get like a really goofy looking final demon, and then Brody starts playing guitar. He tries to play it backwards, you can't remember it. He gets gored by by Zach while he's in demon form, and he decides to get up and then start playing a random song just to try to save Zach. It works, but it doesn't save him, which I didn't like, because I guess it wasn't enough. It was just enough to get the demon out of Zach temporarily, and then Zach's like, you gotta kill me, bro, and, brothers in steel, and then he grabs the razor around his neck and he slits his throat. I don't like that. I really don't like that. You kill off one of the most badass character. Why did you do that? Why are you killing him off? It's like the film just took a 180. It was like, we'll try to pull your heartstrings. I'm like, no, that's not the type of movie you were. You weren't taking yourself seriously for about 90%, almost 100%, most of the film. throughout, like, in the first hour or so, the film was not taking itself seriously at all. I mean, you had scenes with dicks and dildos. You had a scene where these guys get shot with squirt guns with pee. You know, they're not taking themselves seriously at all. And then the ending is like, oh, feel for, you know, we're gonna hit you in the feels. I'm like, no, this is a heavy metal horror film. We don't need this sacrifice shit. So he dies, and I'm like, that sucks. And then of course, it stopped the apocalypse. Zaloff dies while he's in the body of Zach, which I kind of don't get, because he's supposed to be a super powerful demon, and these other people have died and then come back as possessed demons, even though they're dead. Has been established in the film. There's been people who were dead and then came back as demons. I like the rocker guy who gave him the pages of music in the first place. I don't really get why Alof, the big powerful demon, would just die and everything be over just because his body, his vessel, died. But whatever. And then the film pretty much ends where Brody has he's leading the band Deathgasm. He's got his girl Medina, who's looking fucking smoking with her metal chick look, and he's got the girl. And then it's this fucking weird ending where, like, his record starts playing by itself, and then Zach laughs, and then "Fooled you, I mean, bro," or something like that. "Brothers in Steel," and then end credits. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Is this some kind of half-assed setup for a sequel? I don't get that at all. I really don't. I really didn't. I didn't like that ending. The ending hurt the film. Excuse me. The ending hurt the film for me. See, this thing about the ending gives me indigestion. And it was lame. It was a lame ending. You have all this build up to it, and then it just a really pathetic ending. A weak ending. The ending for this sucks chode. I mean, it has some moments, but for the most part, it's disappointing. But the rest of the film was so awesome and fucking, you know, melted my skull in terms of how badass it was, with its shredding, with its music that shreds, and it's fucking awesome. And I'm not a big fan of death metal, that type of music, but they chose a lot of music that really worked for the film and really fucking kicked a lot of ass. So, I mean, the majority of the film up to that point, except for a little bit too much dick, was fucking awesome. And was funny and entertaining and fun to watch and gory as hell, and it was badass. So even though it has a lackluster ending, I still, for the most part, still really like the film. So I really don't know what to say about the movie Deathgasm, except, you know, it fucking rocked hard. It had balls of steel. Didn't need to show me the balls as much as it did, but I'm still glad it had some heavy swinging balls regardless. Some good performances by the cast and crew. Great direction. Decent writing. Ending had some problems. A little bit too much dick for my taste. Some jokes didn't work. For the most part, it was pretty fucking heavy. It was pretty fucking awesome. It was it was brutal, and in a good way. So I really don't know what to say about the film. If it was rated out of 5 stars, I'd probably give Deathgasm 4 out of 5. I would have given it something like 4.5. It had a better ending. Would have given it 5 if it had a great ending and didn't have as much dick. But other than that, I still really enjoyed the film despite the problems that it had. I'd say it's the second best heavy metal horror film for me. My favorite is still Trick or Treat. I watched that right after I saw Deathgasm. I still think that's a better film. Maybe I'll do a video talking about why I love Trick or Treat later. But anyway, I don't know what to say except thank you for watching my review of Deathgasm. And if you haven't seen the film yet and you're curious about it and you like the trailer and you're a heavy metal fan and you like gore and you're into that kind of stuff, I do highly recommend you give it a look. But anyway, thank you for watching my review, and I will see you guys later. See ya.